Jarren Duran will have another all-star caliber season in 2025 and be one of the best leadoff hitters in the sport of Major League Baseball.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part, it's completely free. So you might as well continue to tune in because Locked On is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Happy Thursday, happy first day of spring, and happy 1 week on the dot until opening day. Lots of things going on today here. I was literally sitting outside for a long time yesterday, just thinking about the warm weather and enjoying it, and just thinking about the fact that I associate that nice of weather with spring and baseball season. And it's very exciting that we are just days away from the Red Sox starting their season in Texas against the Rangers. I hope to see a lot of you in that opening series at home the following weekend for the Red Sox. So I am so excited to get things started and watch this team play some regular season games. And as the Red Sox get closer to the season, that also leads to some tough decisions. And I'm going to be talking about some more roster cuts that they made earlier in the day yesterday, as well as giving my annual early award predictions that I usually like to give to Red Sox players. And talking about a guy who likely will win one of those awards and should have a big season for the Boston Red Sox in 2025, and that is Jarren Duran. He is primed and ready to have a big season after exploding last year in so many facets of his game. We learned very early on in the season just how much of the full package Jarren Duran is. He's a 5-tool player who can do basically anything. He has plus speed on the base paths and can turn singles into doubles and put immediate pressure on opposing pitchers because of it, and getting into scoring position right away just makes it more difficult for opposing pitchers. So I'm excited to see him go out there and be able to showcase those same skills in 2025 on the base paths. Not only that, but he also has great defense because of his speed, so he can utilize a lot of the field and make some absolute web gems of plays out in that outfield. And offensively, he contributed a lot as the leadoff hitter, got himself on base a lot more often than not. So I'm excited to see him grow on that in 2025. It will be interesting to see him not in center field because he primarily played in center last year, but the Red Sox have already said that they plan to have Cedar Rafaela be the primary center fielder so that he can really utilize his defense there. So it'll be interesting to see that shift from Duran, but I'm not very much concerned about him because of the fact that he can adapt, because again, it goes back to that athleticism and that speed that he provides to the game. So I'm super excited to see how he performs. Last year, he had a good season for the Boston Red Sox and was hitting very well in the leadoff spot. In spring training this year, he has a relatively quiet spring training so far. He has taken 37 at-bats and recorded 8 hits while scoring 5 runs. He has 3 doubles, 0 homers, and 2 RBIs. He also doesn't have any stolen bases, believe it or not. But he's batting .216 with a .275 on base percentage and .572 OPS. So he's having, considering Jarren Duran, a pretty quiet spring training. But again, when players are easing back into things, it's natural for their numbers to be a bit lower than they are during the season because they're trying to find their groove again. So I'm not overly moved by that. His projected numbers in 2025, he is projected to hit .275 with a 333 on base percentage and 464 slugging to go with a 797 OPS. So obviously that's a big jump from what we're seeing from him in spring training, and that's normal. Once guys are back in that everyday groove of seeing live pitching, then their numbers should regulate a little bit to what they're more used to. But he's also expected to steal 28 bases in 2025. Hopefully that happens. It would be cool if he gets to over 30 stolen bases. So if we look back to some of his numbers from last year, in 2024, when he was an all-star, he had 671 at-bats, scored 111 runs, and hit 191 hits total with 48 doubles and 14 triples. He also had 21 home runs. So he was really doing it all in terms of the extra base hits. He was showcasing his power with the home runs on top of playing small ball and hitting singles, doubles, and triples and getting himself on base and making his way around the base paths because he has that plus speed. 75 RBIs and 34 stolen bases. He also took 54 walks and recorded 160 strikeouts. His batting average last year was a 285 with a 342 on base percentage and 492 slugging to go with an 834 OPS. So his projected numbers going into 2025 aren't expected to be as high as they were in 2024. But those stolen bases, keep an eye on that because he showed that he can steal over 30 as he did steal 34 last year, whereas he's predicted going into 2025 to steal 28 bases. So I highly anticipate his numbers to be much higher in 2025 than what those projected numbers say for him. He was a really good, versatile hitter overall. And when he had to turn it on, he turned it on and he got some really big hits. And that's what I really liked to see from him. And I'm hoping that we can see more of that from him going into this year. Versus right-handed pitching, he batted 298 compared to 255 versus lefties. So a significant drop-off there. On base percentage against righties was a 353, and on base percentage against lefties was a 319. So he hit significantly better against righties than he did against lefties, which was very normal for the Red Sox lineup last year. A lot of guys struggled against lefties, so he wasn't alone on that. But in terms of his home and away splits, he was pretty consistent. He batted 287 at home and 283 on the road. So that's very telling that he was pretty consistent overall all season long, because you did have some guys who would hit well at home and then have a huge drop off on the road, or vice versa. So you don't really have that with Duran. He was able to hit consistently well both at home and on the road. So I'm looking to see that from him again as he maintains that consistency going into 2025. In terms of his batting, his hard hit percentage is about average in the 68th percentile. Bat speed is 77th percentile, so that's pretty solid. K percentage is 48th percentile, so less than average, a little bit below, and then his walk percentage is also a little bit below average at 40. So he definitely could use a little bit of an increase in the walks compared to the strikeouts going into this upcoming season. But he was 95th percentile in range with his fielding, 87th percentile in arm value, and 75th percentile in arm strength. So his fielding was very good last year. That's certainly an area in which he excelled. And for running, his sprint speed, no surprise here, was in the 96th percentile because he is one of the fastest players in the game. So what am I looking at from Jarren Duran? And the biggest indicator to me of why he's going to have another big season in 2025, because he's consistent. He doesn't have a lot of huge drop-offs in his offensive numbers. And that's really important if a guy wants to be successful in the following season, is making sure that they're maintaining that consistency, and that no matter where they're hitting, whether it's at Fenway or it's on the road, that they're still able to be productive. And I've always said this on the show, but it's true. Every single night when you were watching a Red Sox game, Jarren Duran somehow was part of the conversation and made a difference and contributed at the plate in a way that you knew he was always going to do something productive. And that was what was huge. And even if he had a rough night at the plate, he was still making big plays in the field to make a difference defensively. So there were always Jarren Duran conversations when it came to talking about the Red Sox wins. And even if it was just he stole a couple bases that night and put himself into scoring position and somebody drove him in, there was just always something with him that he was able to do to make a difference. And that's what makes for a really good player. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what Duran can do moving into 2025. Just got to get the walk rate up a little bit compared to the strikeouts, and then he'll be absolutely golden. So I'm very excited for him and to see what he can do. And coming up, I'm going to be going over some of my early predictions in terms of which Red Sox players could win awards this upcoming season. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day with multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork helps find affordable, top-tier freelancers to scale my business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today. I highly recommend this resource for anybody looking to hire. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets. I've got my eye on a few underdogs this year, and FanDuel makes it easy to back them with spreads, totals, and game props. With tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when I win, I get paid instantly. No waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. My husband can speak firsthand to the fact that you can win a ton of money on FanDuel, so I highly suggest checking it out because it can change your life. We are ready for the Red Sox season. I know I am so excited to get things started, and I'm so excited to just see the Red Sox out there playing regular season games. And I thought it would be the appropriate time, with a week away from opening day, to give my early predictions on who could win what awards for the Red Sox this season that I will be giving out at the end of the season on the show. So one of the biggest ones for me that I give out every year is team MVP. To me, that's going to go to Jarren Duran again. I just think with his versatility and how much he really provides to this Red Sox team, it's hard to justify giving that award to anybody else, because most valuable player, valuable to me means the guy who does the most to contribute to the team, and that the team would not be the same without them. This Red Sox team 100% would not be the same without Jarren Duran, because he just does too much, and he's a guy that they should keep around on this team for a very long time, because he's a special player, and there are really not many players at all who are like him that can do as much as he can. So I think Jarren Duran's going to have a big season again, and he's going to end up with the team MVP award. A guy who's likely to surprise us, I'm going to go with Walker Buehler on that, because I think when it comes to Buehler, people are trying to get excited about him, but they're also a little bit skeptical because of the fact that he's been through 2 Tommy John surgeries and he hasn't really been able to stay on the field. And when he has been on the field, he has pitched well for the most part, but he has had his blunders. So I think some Red Sox fans are a little bit worried that we're going to get a version of Buehler that is all over the place and not consistent. But this is a prove-it year for him. He's on a 1-year deal with the Boston Red Sox right now, and he obviously wants to secure an opportunity for 2026 and beyond. So he really has no choice but to pitch well this year. He's coming off of pitching very well in the World Series against the Yankees. And people can look to Garrett Crochet and say he's the ace of the starting rotation. 100%, I can't argue that. But if you're looking at a guy who could end up being the steal of the offseason, I'm going to go with Walker Buehler. I just think he's going to pitch very well in 2025. He's coming out here with a purpose and a sense of wanting to show people that he belongs, and also wanting to obviously secure his opportunity for the next year. So I think he's going to go out and have a great season. And by the end of the season, we're going to be talking about him as the most reliable Red Sox starter. I just could totally see it happening. With Garrett Crochet, obviously, I really like his stuff, and I think he's going to absolutely shove. But the question with him still is going to be health as well. And I think at the end of the season, when we're talking about the starting rotation, we're going to look back on it and say that we felt like Walker Buehler was the guy that could be relied on the most. And there are definitely not a lot of people who are thinking that. So my most likely to surprise award, I think, is going to go to Walker Buehler. Biggest bat in the lineup. Now, this one definitely could go to a few different people. You could make the argument for Rafael Devers because he's the heart and soul of the team and he does have a big bat. You could make the argument for Trevor Story because he had a big spring, so maybe he's emerging again as a big bat in the lineup. But I'm going to go with Alex Bregman. I just think he's going to absolutely mash baseballs at Fenway, and with his career numbers at Fenway Park, it's hard to really answer this question with anybody else other than him because he just has that mentality of wanting to win baseball games. He's excited to be here in Boston. He's excited for the future of the team. He's excited for the now and the present. And he came to Boston because he feels like he can win there. And I just think he's going to go out there and absolutely crush baseball. So I'm going to go with Alex Bregman as the lineup big bat that will end up getting awarded at the end of the season. And I'm also, while I'm talking about Alex Bregman, going to put him down for most impactful move that the Red Sox made this offseason, because honestly, they made some good moves prior to that, like getting Walker Buehler and getting Garrett Crochet. Those were moves that put the Red Sox back in the playoff conversation of, okay, they could be better than they were last year and they could be a wild card team. But getting Alex Bregman put the Red Sox from potential fringe playoff team to this team could win the division. Getting him and just having that name in the lineup got baseball fans to say, okay, I could totally see the Red Sox winning the AL East. And that just shows how much of a difference maker he is. And not only that, but also his off the field leadership and what he's done for the big three prospects and how he's been able to give them some advice and guide them through the hardships that come with being a Major League Baseball player. I just think that's all going to benefit them so much down the line. So I just really am excited about having Bregman here. And I think at the end of the season, we're going to look at him as the most impactful player that the Red Sox acquired in the offseason. Who's going to be a guy who has a lot of pressure on him going into the season, who could make or break the Red Sox? That's going to be Trevor Story, a guy who could not stay healthy over the course of his time in Boston so far, but this offseason has been healthy and has been ready to go out there and make a statement and show Red Sox fans why he's here and that he's still worth it. And the thing about Trevor Story is because of how well he's been hitting in spring training, that's a bat that the Red Sox could 100% use in their lineup. And it's really telling the fact that it's the first spring in which he's actually been healthy. And it's the spring in which he's putting up really strong numbers offensively, batting over 400 on the spring. And I've always said this about Story, is that he can make or break whether the Red Sox win a lot of games or not, because we already know how his defense is. It goes unsaid and doesn't really need to be said that his defense makes the Red Sox a much better team. It's a no-brainer. The question then becomes, on the offensive side of the ball, is he going to contribute in the way that we need him to contribute? If Trevor Story is hitting the baseball well, the Red Sox 100% will be a team that no doubt makes the playoffs, could very well win their division, and could see 90 plus victories. He is going to be that guy who's going to be that difference maker, because the Red Sox have been holding out hope and waiting on Story to be that piece in the middle of the lineup who can produce. And right now he's slated to bat fifth for the Red Sox. And that's a big spot for him to be in, because honestly, the Red Sox need him to be that middle person, because you'll have the guys at the top of the order who contribute in Duran, Devers, and Bregman. And then you have Casas after that. Those guys are going to contribute, with Bregman being a guy who is serving as that protection for Devers. And then you have Casas, who is coming off of an injury but is hoping to have a big season. Then you have Trevor Story, and him batting right smack dab in the middle of the lineup. I mean, that's an important job to have. You don't want to feel like 5 through 9 are automatic outs. And Trevor Story really sets the tone for the bulk of that lineup in the middle of the lineup and the depth that lineup has. So the player who's make or break for the Red Sox in 2025 is Trevor Story. And I think at the end of the season, we'll look back on this and also agree. Hopefully he's healthy. And if he is, we hopefully see him turn things on throughout the course of this season. And that because he's out there, it really helps the Red Sox a lot to be a playoff contending team and a team that legitimately could win their division. A guy who could surprise us in a bad way, who we may not see having some struggles going into this upcoming season, but may struggle a little bit more than we think. I'm going to go with Wilyer Abreu there. I think, when it comes to Abreu, he had a great 2024 season as a rookie, won a Gold Glove, and obviously produced some really competitive offensive numbers. But I think we're going to see that this illness that he had and him starting his spring training game so late is going to set him back a little bit. And I think we could see him struggle at least early on in the season. I'm not saying he won't bounce back from it and he won't be able to get himself back on track. I do think that could happen, but I think fans might be a little bit rattled at first by what Abreu is doing offensively, because it may not be at the same level as it was last season. So I'm just preparing people for that now. It's just really difficult for a player to really stay on track with where they were at from a previous season if they miss a lot of the spring going into the next season. And when you have a rookie like that and it's a small sample size, you don't really know if that season was a fluke or if it legitimately was how he is as a player. I'm hoping I'm wrong on this. I'm hoping he comes out swinging, but I could see him surprising us in a way that his numbers at first to start the season aren't as good as what people are expecting. And hopefully, if that is the case, he's able to bounce back sooner rather than later. But if he isn't able to bounce back as well as the Red Sox had hoped, then they probably look at Roman Anthony in the farm system, see how he's doing in AAA. And if they feel like they could call him up and that he's maybe ready, then they put him in the outfield instead and have Abreu take some more reps. But we'll have to see how they handle that situation. But I do think people shouldn't hold their breath on Abreu right away. I just think with the setbacks he's had this spring, I could see him struggling to get on track to where he needs to be in 2025. So there you have it. Those are just a glimpse into my early award predictions. I can't give away too much or too many of them, but this is what I think will happen this upcoming season for the Red Sox. And it'll be fun to look back on this at the end of the season and see how many of these I was right about, or if there are ones where I'm changing it. So coming up next, it's part of the job, unfortunately, and a hard part of the job when they have to make roster cuts. And I'm going to be talking about a few roster cuts that the Red Sox did make next.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Speaking of March Madness, I am so excited for it this year. Do not sleep on my UConn Huskies. I am just saying I do think it'll be a lot more of a struggle this year for them than it was last season. But if you are thinking about knocking them out in the first round, I promise I will be coming for you. But it should be a lot of fun as usual. UConn women have a good shot to win the whole thing this year, so I'm definitely looking out for that too. Don't forget that it is that time of year, so hopefully remember to fill out your brackets. And it's also the time of year for opening day, which is exactly a week from today. I cannot wait to be sitting on my couch watching that first Red Sox game of the season. And unfortunately, because it's getting closer to opening day, that means tough roster decisions that the Red Sox have to make. And they narrowed down their roster a little bit more on Wednesday when they made some roster cuts. And one of those roster cuts included second base competition Vaughn Grissom. He was one of 5 players who the Red Sox cut on Wednesday. They also optioned right-handed relievers Luis Guerrero and Josh Winkowski to the minors. Those guys are all expected to begin the 2025 season at AAA Worcester. I was not really surprised about Grissom because he hasn't had a good spring, definitely not a standout enough spring to where the Red Sox could feel confident having him play second base every day. I was a little bit surprised about Guerrero because obviously, even though it was a small sample size, he did get called up to the majors last year and performed well in the pen. And I just thought that the Red Sox would want to see more of that this year. So I thought they would maybe give him that shot, but they must not have felt confident enough in him from what they saw during spring training to keep him around in the majors. I'm sure he'll get called up at some point when somebody inevitably gets hurt and they need another arm in the bullpen. I wouldn't be surprised being one of the first guys that they call up in that case. So I'm definitely interested in seeing how he performs in AAA, because if he continues to put up competitive numbers, he could be that first in line guy for the Red Sox when they need somebody. Josh Winkowski struggles. I mean, he struggled last year, and that struggle kind of carried over into spring training this year, in which he was really struggling with his command and giving up lots of runs. So I think the Red Sox made the right decision here with Winkowski starting the season in AAA, because he just wasn't showing any sign of growth again and moving in a positive direction this offseason. So maybe he can turn things around in AAA and get himself back up to the majors. But for now, I do think that's a good option for him, is to be in Worcester. The Red Sox also reassigned non-roster invitees Nathan Hickey and Mark Kolasvari to minor league camp. We kind of knew that was going to happen. The Red Sox brought them both in for depth and wanted to give them a shot in spring training, but it was kind of a long shot that they would make the opening day roster at the major league level. So I'm not really surprised that those guys are going to be back in minor league camp. It's nice of the Red Sox to give those guys a shot, but at the end of the day, they have other guys who are better that they feel are going to help round out the roster. So when it comes to this second base situation, Kristian Campbell is the favorite to win the starting second base job, which is also interesting because he hasn't had a great spring. But David Hamilton is somebody who is also expected to get a lot of playing time, because I think the reason that the Red Sox won't start him at second base is because they want to use him as a utility guy and kind of make him available to do various things, because that's something that's really good about Hamilton's game, is he can kind of do a lot of different things. So I think they want to use him more in that capacity, which is why Campbell is more in the conversation of a starting second base job. But when it comes to Grissom, I mean, it's definitely disappointing for him. The Red Sox acquired him from the Braves for Chris Sale on December 30th, 2023, with the belief that he could be their starting second baseman in 2024. But 2 IL stints for injuries to both hamstrings and a lack of production offensively limited him to 31 major league games, which was 114 plate appearances for him last year. He then struggled in Grapefruit League action this spring, going 6 for 34, which is a 176 batting average, with a 300 on base percentage, 235 slugging, 2 doubles, 3 RBIs, 6 runs, 6 walks, and 6 strikeouts in 13 games. So definitely a good decision by the Red Sox to start him in AAA. I just think, unfortunately, the injuries have set him back a little bit too much, and other guys are starting to emerge as more reliable options in that regard. Guerrero emerged early in camp as a strong candidate to make the opening day roster because of his big-time velo and 3 strong appearances. The 24-year-old allowed 1 hit and 1 walk while striking out 6 in 3 scoreless innings over 3 relief outings to begin Grapefruit League action, but then he struggled to throw strikes as it got later and later. He walked 8 batters and gave up 6 runs in his final 4 outings in 2 2/3 innings. So he started off really well, and then he kind of fell off. So the Red Sox probably believe that because of that drop off in the second half of spring, that he needs some more reps in spring training. And then to AAA before he is able to come up to the majors again. So it's definitely disappointing. But again, I mean, small sample size from him last year. I'd rather him continue to get the reps at AAA so that he can really master his skills before he gets called back up. So that way, then when he does get called back up, we get the best version of him that we can possibly get. Winkowski has pitched in 115 games and made 21 starts for Boston the past 3 seasons. He pitched the 3rd most innings with 83 1/3 among major league relievers in 2023. But he struggled at times last year and struggled again this spring training. He allowed 12 runs, 15 hits, with 2 of those being homers, and 6 walks while striking out 4 during spring training. The 26-year-old righty is working to change the shape of his slider and throw his cutter in better locations than he did in 2024. So he's really still trying to perfect those off-speed pitches. And I think him getting reps in AAA where it's a little bit less pressure will hopefully allow him to continue to grow and expand on that off-speed stuff so that he can come back up to the majors at some point, a better version of himself. But after his struggles last year, I said, unless he has a great spring, I don't really want to see him in the majors. So I do think the Red Sox made the right decision there. They're really trying to evaluate who's going to be reliable and who's not. And this is the time when they unfortunately have to make those roster cuts. And it's hard on everybody. Nobody wants to make those kinds of decisions on a roster. But when you're trying to get the best guys possible out there on the field come opening day, this is what you have to do. And you have to weed out the guys who just seemingly won't be as reliable. So I'm rooting for all of these guys. I mean, it's definitely never a fun scenario when you find out that you have to go to the minors to start the season, especially for a guy like Winkowski, who has spent a lot of time the last couple seasons up in the majors. So for him, it's probably hard news to hear that he's going to be starting the season in Worcester. For guys like Grissom and Guerrero, they can definitely use it as motivation to try to prove the organization wrong and prove that they deserve a spot on that major league team come opening day, but they just have to work at it. And if they are performing really well, I'm sure they'll get their chance. And the thing with Vaughn Grissom that's tough is because he hasn't been producing, the Red Sox can't really trade him. If they feel like Kristian Campbell is their second baseman of the future, then they should be looking at trade options for Grissom, but it's hard to do that when he's been injured a lot and teams haven't really been able to see the full version of Grissom and what he can do. So I'm hoping that if he starts to play really well in AAA, then he could be a trade piece for the Red Sox and they could find a team that would be interested in pursuing him. So it's a big season for the Red Sox and for him, because if he wants to get a chance on a major league team, even if it's not Boston, he has to have a really good season in AAA this year. So he has to just kind of make the most of it. And with Guerrero, the goal should be get yourself back up to the major league roster. Prove to the Red Sox that you belong on that roster and that your struggles in spring training were not long lasting and that you have figured it out. So lots for these guys here to play for in AAA. But it's definitely tough decisions all around for the Red Sox when these types of things do happen. But I'm really excited to see how this roster shapes out come opening day, which is exactly a week away. I cannot wait. I appreciate you tuning into Locked On Red Sox and making it your first listen today. Make sure to next tune in to Locked On Fantasy Baseball, which you can find on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure you check that out next. As always, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.